Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Warmcast, where we are going to discuss about PR. World of Marketing is a forum where marketers exchange knowledge and grow. This episode is a part of a series that we are going to have on PR. Uh, Today, we are discussing about on a topic that is rise of digital PR. Today, we are honored to have marketing legends in discussion with our expert, Ms. Swati Kukrety, to explore topic that is evolution of technology in marketing.
Hi, Dinesh. Good to thank you for welcoming me. We just have a little shift of a topic, which is the rise of digital PR. Um, it is, in fact, a great honor to host this show today. And digital PR was definitely a gift of pandemic. Public relation is a useful function to build internal and external relationship of an organization. Um, in this session, we have with us experts of public relations and marketing to discuss the rise of digital PR and impact of PR on marketing. Our first guest today is the dynamic marketer who is also winner of many awards, and she is amongst the top 50 CMOs of India. Please welcome Shreya Krishnan.
Happy to be here. Hello, everybody.
Great. Nice to see you, and you're looking very vibrant.
Thank you.
Second guest, our second guest tonight we have is an award-winning PR professional, and she has spent over 2 decades in this profession. She's also handled a crisis uh, of a company. She's today a PR entrepreneur. Please join me in welcoming Manjulla Nair. Welcome, Manjulla.
Hi, namaste everyone. Thank you.
Namaste. So nice to have you. It's an honor to have such an experienced PR professional who's also handled a crisis of a company. Um, our third guest we have is a gentleman who has over 2 decades of experience in PR, working with different companies, and now he is a PR entrepreneur. Um, it will be wonderful to have his insights in this show and learn new things. Please welcome Kishore.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Kishore. Good to see you,
Same here.
and good to see your new look.
Thank you.
Well, our I wouldn't say he's a guest, he's actually a host. And I'm sure we all know him. He is the founder of World of Marketing. He is a passionate marketer. Please join me in welcoming Ashish Singh.
Namaste and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It is today, definitely, we will learn a lot of new things, a different seven, I think there are 7 different angles of PR, and we will discuss through experiences of each of you. Um, my first question is to Kishore. Kishore, why PR is very important for business, and what is the difference between traditional and digital PR, and which is better?
Yeah. So according to me, PR is it's all about delivering the right message to right stakeholders at right time. That's very important. Today, if you see the overall market, whether it's Indian as well as global, there has been constantly kind of disruptive market where you have to engage with the stakeholder and communicate your key stakeholder messages at right point of time. And PR is something that really helps to bridge the gap to engage with your stakeholders, whether it's corporate reputation management, brand communication, public advocacy, like even stakeholder engagement is very very important for businesses. That's something like for the businesses to do PR. It really helps to bridge that gap and engage with the stakeholder. As far as the other part of the question you mentioned about traditional versus digital, which is better, my take on that is like both are very very important. Both have a different role to play in the overall communications campaign. While to give you more insight about this, is like we talk about the traditional public relations, the larger like outreach happens through newspapers, broadcast media, news channels, magazines. So that's how you communicate with through the traditional PR. But with the innovation and technology, digital PR is something like which every corporate or like any business is using, and so both goes hand in hand, and both have a different role to play in the entire communications campaign.
Great. Thank you, Kishore. That was a great insight. Manjulla, my next question, and I've been really wanting to ask you this question, that is about how did you handle the crisis of Satyam BPO in 2008 when the company was undergoing crisis, and PR is a front leader to take the punch, or so how did you manage this?
So I was the global marketing head for Satyam BPO, but Satyam Computers, by at large, had a very large marketing and communication team. So we all did it. It was not just me. Yeah, so news channels were really beating us down. We had so much of negative publicity going out. Some were validated news which was going out, which were true to the facts that the crisis had broken out. But there were some media which would just to be there in the news, just to have Satyam in the news. They were playing out a lot of news which was not so relevant or not so factual. We did work around squashing a lot of negative publicity by using more effective positive PR. So we still had our recruitment camps going on. Employees were still joining the organization even in the midst of crisis. So we picked up these kind of stories to talk in media. We called some good TV channels who had good relations with us and who were not really beating us down with negative publicity. We called them over into our office premises, at 12 in the night, because it's BPO and it needs to be running full at 12 midnight. So, the teams would come in and they would interview people, and, we would show that it's business as usual. It was very important for us to do that. It was not just to be in media at that point of time. It was that we have to keep our employees motivated, to come to work every day. We have to keep our customers, who are global customers, motivated that it's business as usual. Your projects are getting executed. Even if the company is going through crisis, we are still working for you. So the whole agenda was that we need to be sick, we don't need to die, because a sick company will definitely get a buyer, but a dead company nobody will want to buy, right? So the whole shift of our responsibilities, the whole marketing team responsibilities, moved to how to start creating positive stories in this whole event of negativity. So PR played a big role in this. I remember even MTV tickers used to talk about us. You switch on MTV and you would have Satyam tickers going. This is how media was so aggressive. I used to have media actually chase me when I would leave office, just to get a small bite of what's happening, who's acquiring us, and things like that. So we stuck as a team together, and we decided that we are going to start squashing all the negative publicity by putting down the right facts to the good media who wants to really be give our good picture out. And we started creating a lot of initiatives internally to take to media again, with a lot of facts, and also inviting them over into our office premises to do, which we would typically not do on a regular basis. On a regular basis, if the company isn't going through crisis, you still have an agenda every month. How much you want to do media, and how much do you want people to come and really interact with the specialist level of employees to managers to directors, right? There is a hierarchy that we follow in PR, that there are spokesperson who are trained for media and stuff like that. But in Satyam, that time we kind of leveraged all our employees who were wanting to work, and wanting to see Satyam come out of these crises. We leveraged all these employees to be in front of media. So this is how we used PR. Apart from this, there were other marketing initiatives that were done, but yeah, these are the kind of things that we did in PR.
Great. That's really brave of you to face the negative, media who's chasing you up and wanting a story from you, which would add masala to their uh, news. But it is really nice and brave of you to face it and understand the company is sick. Accepting that is really nice, and not saying that we are sick but we don't want to die. That's a beautiful takeaway from this PR story. Shreya, my next question is to you. You've been a marketer, and definitely you do acknowledge the role of PR in marketing. I wanted to know from you, which is more impactful? Is marketing through advertising more impactful, or marketing through PR more impactful? Shreya, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was saying you can advertise the living daylights out of your brand, but without a good reputation that your brand has built, your advertising is not going to take you anywhere. So, no matter what stage you are, whether you're a startup or you're a mid-sized organization or you're a large organization, PR and reputation goes hand in hand with all kinds of marketing that you do. No more other days where you look at them as independent entities and there's no is it this or that. I think it's cohesive. I think it's collective, and I think there's a lot that needs to happen in the interplay between these two. Like I said, there are multiple examples of how advertising now relies on PR to be able to take the story to a larger audience, to a wider extent, to build credibility, to showcase the integrity of the brand. Especially through pandemic times, we've seen that brands that have invested in reputation and PR have stood the test of time and risks, whereas brands that haven't have actually not taken off. So I don't think it's anymore a question of either or. I think it's a question of how much and when. So that's the entire spectrum of that question.
So, have you ever faced a particular situation where your PR was more stronger than your advertising?
Actually, most organizations that are B2B, B2B organizations rely a lot more on reputation and PR than they do on advertising, because it's not a direct consumer call to action. So, having said that, even B2C brands in some cases have relied more on the story of PR over advertising. If you take campaigns like Ford Figo, for instance, did this entire thing with Farhan Akhtar, where he went around interviewing what drives you, interviewing startup founders, interviewing different people. And that entire campaign was a PR campaign, which was advertised, but the campaign was pure play PR. So if you look at it, there are a lot more PR campaigns nowadays that get a fair amount and fair share of eyeballs from the media from an advertising standpoint rather than the other way around. So, like I said, there are instances, especially in B2B companies, where there's barely any advertising, and there is a lot of focus on reputation building and PR, and to be able to storytell using PR as a channel, and rather than spend a lot on advertising, which may not land you on your feet. There are also interconnections between social media and PR. So you can actually run social media ad campaigns that are connected to PR campaigns, which will then deliver your 360-degree campaigns, which is far more compelling for the brand than it is to just do pure play advertising.
Great. True. So PR and marketing definitely go hand in hand to create an impact, to build a brand. Thanks for this insight, Shreya.
Swati,
Uh,
Swati,
yes,
here I
Ashish.
want to make a point. PR is a part of marketing. Okay, this is the integral part of big marketing umbrella. Okay, so I see PR in a broader sense. Okay, so yeah, continue.
Um, my question to Kishore is has the pandemic changed the way you communicate? Because all the media is so cluttered with the pandemic news. How do you make your way through? How do you make sure that with all the bad news, there should be some good news? So please buy. It's okay, you're sick, but please buy.
Here comes
No,
the question of digital PR. Here comes the question of digital PR. Now Kishore Da will tell about the digital PR, the importance of digital PR. Okay, the shift from a normal and conventional PR to digital PR. Okay, sorry Kishore Da, continue.
so to address that, I'll go one step back. If in the case of traditional media, what used to earlier happen is like, there were press releases, a lot of press conferences, a lot of things which used to happen. Uh, but, that is not relevant anymore because what has happened is the impact of COVID has been great. From the traditional media perspective side, what they've done is like, earlier any publications, they used to have 16 pages or 18 pages. Suddenly, the number of pages have, come down because any edition have come to pages of around 10 to 12 pages. So from the journalist perspective, they would carry only that news or that information which is very, very relevant to the readers. Because one side, what was happening is while the publications were coming day to day, but nobody was buying the newspapers. In that scenario, like how do you communicate to the stakeholder was a larger question. And that's how digital media, like, it played a very, very important role, in communicating with the stakeholders. I will give you a very interesting example. Uh, in the recent, what has happened is like in the entire COVID situation, there has been an increased knowledge gap between the medical fraternity as well as pharma industry, and the pharma industry were not able to communicate with the doctors on a regular basis to share updates, whether it's new research, new medicine innovation. And that was really, really difficult situations because of the COVID protocols, like because of social distancing, the medical representatives were not able to meet with the doctors, and that's where a larger gap kind of was created between the both. So what we did is like, to do that, we created a digital campaign. And through that campaign, we started addressing how has COVID impacted the medical fraternity, what is the kind of knowledge gap which is there, and how do we address those campaign. On all this entire campaign, we did it on a social media platform. We did a lot of like webinars, we did a lot of interactive programs, and that is still continue. What really helped us, we in the entire campaign, is like we understood what is the kind of impact the COVID has created, how technology is playing an important role in communicating with the doctors. If you look earlier, like the doctor were not coming on the social media platform, they were a little skeptical to come on that. But now with the availability of the technology, with the kind of like everything is on the phone, like if they want to read something, they can just browse their phone and they get information about the research. There are blogs, there are like a lot of interactive platforms where they can come and communicate either with the medical fraternity as well as with the patients. So that's
Great.
how technology is playing a very, very important role.
Great. Thank you, Kishore. It is indeed great insights. that you're taking a CSR kind of a social responsibility angle in PR to build a brand, if I'm right. That uh, my next question to Manjula is, we have done probably a CSR during pandemic to build a brand, uh, promoting it. Um, how do you do internal PR where your employees are also struggling? They're also facing a lot of challenges. You have faced, you have managed internal PR as well. Uh, what strategies do you use to create a positive impact in employees?
So, internal communication is very, very important for the IT industry, and I primarily come from the IT industry background. Recruitment marketing is a very big initiative that we run within the marketing, and PR for internal communication plays a very big role over here. You have heard about the surveys called Great Place to Work or BT Mercer's Best Companies to Work for. They are again PR platforms which are promoting companies' internal communication initiatives or internal initiatives that you're driving with your employees. In my whole career, right from HP, Sapient Corporation, Satyam, and then MDocs, we've done a whole lot of internal communication initiatives. So, first communication comes as, when as a PR, there is a communication, a kind of communication that goes out to your employees that you want to share with your employees. What all do you want to share about the company with your employees, and how would you do it? So there are town halls through which your C levels or senior leaders address the employees with maybe every quarter, or there are these intranet that we have, the newsletters that we have for employees. And also, PR for internal communication plays a big role, because when you're coming out with some new initiative for your employees, and when you take it to media to show that you're a great place to work, it not only brings you good people who want to join your organization because they believe this company will take good care of us because they have these great initiatives for their employees, but it also motivates the existing employees, to stay back in this organization and wear the badge on their sleeves with a lot of pride that they work for a certain organization. So internal communication plays a very, very important role. In fact, you have to have initiatives all through the year if you want to be part of Great Place to Work or BT Mercer. If any one of us have worked on these kind of surveys, we know the kind of questions that they have and the amount of proofs that we have to give that how we are been driving this company very effectively internally. So these initiatives again, driving these initiatives, building the volunteer teams internally with the employees, kind of falls into corporate communication plus HR. To some level, you will have some support from HR in their hands, to ensure that there are great initiatives that are happening within the company, and then PR takes those initiatives out to the media and talks to the media about it. So again, CSR is a very, very important aspect of internal communication, because a lot of employees engage. In fact, I do remember that we used to actually have these questions when we would be recruiting people, and they're coming for their interview, they would ask us, what do you do in CSR? That means a lot of people want to join companies who do involve themselves in CSR,
Yes, sir.
and they do want to participate. I have seen, a whole lot of CSR campaigns. One very exciting campaign that I would like to talk about is, where we had to donate bed sheets and blankets to an NGO of 200 children. It's a residential school, and typically their parents are working on road sites and stuff like that. So these are kids who are residential kids in one of the NGO, and we had to source blankets, and winter was coming, so we wanted to source the winter bedding for them. Somebody just came out with an idea that they know somebody in the Yerwada jail, and inmates actually make these things. So why don't we go and buy stuff out from the Yerwada jail and we do the donation? So, these kind of things, where you are actually having employees contribute, go into the society, bring resources, and again go back into the society and distribute. So these become very good stories to take to PR, right? And then we did have the jailer give us a quote and stuff like that. And then many companies actually started doing that. They realized that, oh, there is a shop at the jail and you can source a lot of things from there. This is the same jail where Sanjay Dutt's chair which he made went on auction, right? So there are
Right.
many other things which are getting made there. So these kind of initiatives really work well. And all through when I was handling CSR, we were not just doing donations. We were ensuring that there is employee engagement in whatever we want to spend money on. So it was not we were engaging a whole lot of employees to come in, contribute to initiatives, and then obviously the company had the CSR budget to take care of initiatives, but we had employees manage those initiatives on the ground with whether underprivileged children or whether single mothers or whatever we were doing in the agenda of CSR.
That's a wonderful example which you set to rest of the corporates, and they did copy.
I mean, we took it to
Wonderful.
media, right? Only
Yes,
then they got to know
yes,
about it. So again,
yes,
PR
yes.
plays a very big role, right? So
In
many people
CSR.
say, many people, many companies, when I tell them you are doing CSR, let's talk about this in media, and they say, no, no, ye to bahut chota hai. We are doing very small initiative, and this is the example I give them that today you are doing a small initiative. Imagine 10 others are going to copy you. You
It'll
know,
have a ripple effect. Yes,
yeah.
yes. I quite remember one of the examples how a customer relation management got into CSR, and how they got their customers to do a lot of CSR, and so rest of the other competitors companies also wanted their customers to do CSR and make them feel proud about the brand. It works very well. My next question is to Shreya. Shreya, Manjulla has handled a crisis, and she has handled a crisis as in a portfolio as a PR. Uh, how to, as a marketer, handle a crisis with a brand, and how do you overcome that? Is there a uh,
So I've dealt with a crisis as well in this organization that I was with previously, and when a crisis hits, you're not wearing the hat of either a marketer or a PR person. You're wearing the hat of that person within the organization who's allocated to pull the organization out of that situation or that space that the organization is in. So I don't think there's a difference in the way you would handle it. You would try to look at the root cause analysis. You would try to look at what is it that we can do immediately to be able to respond and to be able to tell the world what needs to be heard for the organization to stay through the thick of things. Our crisis, as an example, was the fact that there was this girl who was right in the middle of the Tamil Nadu Karnataka Kaveri issue, issued a on a public group on Facebook. Who was the girl was from Chennai, based in Bangalore, in our office in Bangalore, and she happened to post something very derogatory and not very parliamentary in terms of the language to the Karnataka community, local Karnataka community. So overnight, we had Kannada Rakshana Vedike guys calling us. There were lawyers threatening to sue us. There was case after case that was piling up, and that was, sort of getting a lot of visibility. And what happened because of that is that when the crisis hit, we were just focused on pulling ourselves out of that space of ensuring that she was protected. We were getting death threats. We were telling our employees to take off their ID cards and walk around. So we didn't. I had a person who was managing PR at that time, but I was not wearing the hat of a marketer. I was saying, let's do what is best for us to be able to tackle the situation at hand. So when a crisis is hitting you, you're just thinking, what is it that you can do to ensure business as usual, to ensure that you're protecting the space, to ensure that you're doing the best within your framework to be able to address the issue at hand. So I would say, I think the action is the same. What do we do to prevent future damage? What can we do to the best of our ability to ensure that the status quo is returned? That's it.
Lovely. Um,
And just to add to what she has mentioned, see what is happening is if you look from the larger organization MNCs, what is happening now scenarios like the company used to react only when the crisis used to happen, but that is not the case anymore. Any organization today, what they try and do is like they try and map the crisis so that whenever the crisis happens, like they react within minimum time. And to do that, what they usually do is like mapping like what kind of crisis can happen, whether it's a fire, whether it's a calamity, or whether it's like employees issues, whether it's strike. So any organization, very important, like my suggestion, like you need to map that crisis and create some kind of a backup plan in place. So any given point of time, if the company gets into a crisis, they need to react where immediately. So that should be very important, because what happens is from the media perspective, whenever there is a crisis that happens within the company, the media will start calling the like whether it's CEO or MD, and then suddenly if you want to like comment on a certain, it's not the viable thing, because there are other priorities, there are certain other things which is important. But if you have a manual in place, like if this kind of crisis appears, what is that you need to activate immediately, that would
yes.
really help organizations.
So pre-planning a crisis, how to deal with a crisis, pre-planning as a manual, that's something
Swati,
you would
yeah,
suggest.
Yes.
Is
I think,
that been
uh,
implemented in many of the organizations or
So
most of the
not
PR?
pre-planning, sorry, not pre-planning, but it's quick planning, because
Good plan.
I have handled crises where our employee buses we have right on the roads,
Yes.
and the bus has blocked because the bus broke down and it has jammed a road, and then I start having media call me up that what's happening and all that. So I have to really tell my CEO that okay, these are the talking points, these are the
Yes.
things that you need to go to media. So I think it's more
Yes.
about very very short turnaround time that you should have during crisis, because pre-planning too, we don't know what's coming,
We
right?
don't
I
know
mean,
what's happening.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but having a
So,
process helps.
Correct.
okay.
So
So
is it
PR, that's PR in crisis. That's what we were discussing in terms of if you have a manual in place, X, Y, Z things happen. This is the way to react. And do you have a template ready? What to say? That's where the experts come and use like Manjulla. Um, I wanted to understand, Kishore, what is the most powerful campaign you've ever done that has created, that shown great results with stakeholders?
Yes. So if you look, one of the very interesting campaign which I've worked on, and it's always close to my heart, is something which is related to health and wellness. If you look India, like in India, the 10 years back, the situation, especially with the organ donation, there has always been a huge gap between the number of transplant which happens and number of organs which people
Which are
require.
required. Yes.
If I have to give a statistics in place,
Yes.
today in India, almost 5 lakh people die annually because they don't get organs timely. And that is a huge kind of gap. Now, the reason being is there is like, the major reason is people are not aware about the organ donation. Most of the people have negative, kind of beliefs about the organ donation. There are a lot of myths about the organ donation. And, that's the reason, people don't come forward and donate organs. And I'm talking about organs is the cadaver organ donation. So there are two type of organs. One is live donation, another one is cadaver organ donations. Cadaver organ donation is something, when a person meets in an accident and the doctor declares brain as brain dead. After that, a person will not revive or come back. And that is the time a family member have to like take a call or give
Look for.
consent whether a person can, donate the organs. Uh, Technically, if, organ donation happens, one organ donation can save up to 7 to 8 lives.
Wow.
So that's how the situation is. So that was a challenge. The number of transplant in India were very low, and that's where we started a campaign to raise the awareness about cadavre organ donation, which organs could be donated, what are the myths around the organ donation. We did 360 degrees campaign with print media, broadcast media, a little bit of social media as well. Uh, and initially, honestly speaking, the campaign like did have like less of response, I would say. But we did not give it up. We tried different strategies, and then suddenly the campaign picked it up. uh, Today, the campaign ran for 4 years. If you ask me today about the cadavre organ donation, the number have completely increased in a larger sense. How we did that is like, we did a lot of stakeholder engagement program in the entire campaign. We engaged with the doctors, especially the nephrologist, because they are the one who kind of like, do surgeries. Second part is a neurologist. We did connect with the NGOs, patient support groups, and in every hospital there is a transplant coordination committee. So we start engaging with that, educating them about like, how the entire process can happen. The largest hurdle till date today in India is like, every state have a uh, different rule and regulation for organ donation. So the regulation what is applicable for Maharashtra is not the same whether in Gujarat or like, Tamil Nadu. So those are the kind of situations. So what really happened after 4 years of campaign is the number of transplant increased. The media started writing about the organ donation. The At the policy level, the government also, came up with certain regulation that really boosted the number
Correct,
of
correct.
transplant, and a lot of lives were saved during that campaign.
Thank you.
And
Swati,
interestingly,
can
that
I?
campaign, like post COVID, had again gone. So we had again started that because there were challenges like people were skeptical, like if I visit a hospital, like whether will I get COVID, or like if I have to do a transplant, what is the right way? So we started educating again in terms of what which way it could be done, and that campaign is still going on.
So, Kishore, tell me one thing. See, there are so many students. They are watching our show. So, I want some basic questions. Who are these PR managers, and how different they are from the? See, if we talk about the public relations, then how it is different from corporate relations, customer relations, and government relations. Basically, a PR manager, I mean, as a layman language, uh, it is basically to handle the press and the media and portray a good image of a company uh, and the brand. Okay, right? So, what I believe, PR managers are required to keep a good relation with media houses, local reporters, and at the time of crisis, as we were discussing, at the time of crisis, you can save the company image. Okay, so in the context of public relations, government relations, and customer relations, who are they? These PR managers. What I believe
So
these days, not only the just a minute, not only the PR managers. I think everyone who works in a company is a PR manager. Gone. I mean, those days when there was a typical PR manager who handles the PR, who handles the used to handle media and the reporters. Now on social media, everybody is a PR manager. Your ex-employee, they can write a shit about you because he was not satisfied with you. So he can destroy your PR image. So you have to work on your, employees first of all to maintain your brand image. So these are the
I
questions
think
for the students: how to be a PR manager.
So, I will address that in two, three parts. So, uh, the role of public relations or a PR manager have drastically changed. If you ask me, 8, 10 years back, there was like, understanding PR means like, press release dissemination or getting the news
Exactly.
and the
That's what I'm
story
saying.
comes. So that was the kind of thing, there was always a perception about, and even that perception to an extent still remains because from a person who's beginning, all they look is like has the story appeared in the press, which paper, what is the size, but that is not going to happen anymore, because if you really want to be a PR professional, you have to look at a different level. And what that means is, like, it's not about getting the news in the traditional media or social media. What is really important is, like, whether you are working for any sector, the first and most important thing is you need to have thorough understanding of that sector. Because if you're
Right.
working for, let's say, a telecom company, and if you're going there as a PR person, or rather a corporate communication person, you need to understand in and out about that sector. That is one point. Second part is, once you get the understanding, you need to, you know, think very strategically. In the sense, your role does not remain like, I'll get few stories, and at the end of the month, like, some positive stories, some positive news that will add value to the company. No, it's not going to happen.
No, no,
It's
no.
not
It's
about
very
the
dynamic.
stories.
It's very
Yeah,
dynamic.
yeah.
Every day,
So
every day.
correct. So very important is, like, any person who's working, that person has to think strategically. What is the strategy for my organization, whether it's at the corporate level, whether it's at leadership level, whether it's
Yeah.
product or whether it's service. It's not just about one article or one release. So you have to strategically think what your objectives are, like, who's your key stakeholder, what do I communicate, how do I communicate. So it doesn't matter, even if it's a release or a campaign, you need to have answers to all those questions. Once you have that in place, the most important thing, what a lot
Okay.
of PR
Yeah,
professional.
thanks. Thank you, sir, for this answer. Here, I want a question from all these participants. Like today is the topic of digital PR, right? And after this pandemic, the physical newspaper is not in much circulation. What we used to read news and like we used to read in, newspapers on mobile. Okay, so the dynamics keeps on changing every day. In fact, in every hours. Okay, so how to keep that pace? How to maintain this digital audiences, digital influencers?
So I'll start. In terms of
Yes, sir.
when you look at PR, the digital side of PR is as real or as hectic or more in comparison to the media relationships and media stories and media angle. So what usually happens within organizations is, while there is a PR agency, there's also one or two, depending on the size of the organization, all the way from one or two people who are on digital all the time, all the way to large digital PR teams that are actually managing the consumer complaints, requests, responses, etc., etc. If you look at a Netflix, or if you look at an Amazon, or if you were to look at Blue Star air conditioning, if you were to look at the consumer heavy brands, they have massive digital PR teams that are literally looking at. So digital PR sits somewhere in between customer service and relationship. It's between marketing, between evangelizing. So it's actually not called exactly the digital PR in terms of front and center, but the PR teams and the deployable digital teams that sort of liaise with the agency, with the CRM teams, with the business. So it's like a little network.
Mhm.
So it really functions like a little network. So
Okay, okay. Manjula, your
So,
views?
Uh, so today I primarily work with startups and SMEs, and before pandemic, if I whenever I was doing PR for a startup or a SME, they would want to be in Times of India or Economic Times. Means print is what they wanted to be in, but they did not believe so much in digital PR. But because of pandemic, a lot of newspapers became more stronger on digital platforms, because they realize that print isn't going to be there for a while. And today, actually, the whole scenario has changed. A whole lot of startups and SMEs today believe in digital PR. And uh,
And,
one is,
and news
yes,
portals,
visibility. Yeah, one
digital
is,
news portals.
yeah, digital news portals. So one is for getting their visibilities and branding out. Second is also, it kind of helps in search engine optimization, because there are a whole lot of news portals which can provide you backlinks if you're giving them a unique article, right? So there are publications who are more than happy to endorse you as well. Then the third thing that I have seen, the shift that I have seen is that today a whole lot of clients of mine demand that we want influencers to start talking about our product. We want YouTubers to start doing demos of our product. So what has happened now is that the digital PR is no more only with the news agencies or with the media, but it has also come to every household. So if you and me also have a YouTube channel and we have great following, we can also start endorsing products and start making money. So the whole
So
scenario has
Manjula,
shifted.
Manjula, as per you say now, the digital marketing manager is a PR manager, HR manager is a PR manager, as immediate boss is a kind of a PR manager.
Yeah. So, so this is the scenario with the SMEs and startups, but I do work with large organizations in certain new trainings that they demand from me. And you know what these trainings are? We want our employees to be trained on how to effectively use their social media for promoting the organization that they're working for. So that again is a PR
Yes.
initiative, that again kind of falls into PR while we are talking about training over here. It's L&D departments who are licensing with me to do a training, which is a PR kind of training to their employees, because today every employee itself has become a PR manager of that company. Like how, Shreya said, talked about the crisis of one employee making a wrong comment on their social media could become a big crisis for the whole organization. Today, larger companies are seeing that how can we have our own employees become brand ambassadors to the whole, our organization. So the whole shift is kind of changed.
That
Yeah,
is the
but
out.
going
That is
with
the out.
Kishore, I would agree that organic PR will still be there. There are a lot of companies who still believe that yes, we want journalists to interview us, we want to be part of the news channels, whether they are online, offline, whether they are broadcast channels, we want to be there. So somewhere the organic PR engine will also keep working,
So
while
Manjula,
there
this is
will
organic.
also be a
This is organic
automated.
only. This is organic only. If you talk about the social media, see, I'll tell you, social media is a very honest uh, gentleman, honest lady. Okay, so you cannot hide anything on social media. I can give you numbers of name the company and the numbers of campaign when that they got exposed on the social media. I have tell you a very interesting story about Panasonic. At the 2019, they made a very good Women's Day video, and they have roll out on the social media. So someone from the that company, ex-employee, they just given a comment that why are you spending so much of thousands of rupees on this making those promotional videos? You can spend some money on your a maid, on your lady watchman, or the lady who works in your offices, in the remote offices, the regional offices. Suppose the company, that particular company, they have made a video of those lady staff who works in a head office, headquarter. Okay, so that employee said, don't waste the money to make such a fake videos and promotional videos. Use that money to empower your women employee who work into the regional offices in Bihar, in Uttar Pradesh, in Assam, in Northeast. Okay, but what happened after that? The agency, the PR agency, they deleted that campaign, that comment. That employee, what they did a screenshot, again posted on the social media. So after that, the HR manager has to call that employee, bro, don't do this. Sorry, yeah, we will do
Yeah,
this next
so
time.
I have learned this from my Satyam days, the Satyam crisis, that never delete anybody's news. Try to squash that news or try to put more positive news on top of that news, but don't delete. I have a UK client who, for whom we are only supposed to be managing their glass door, because when they sack a lot of people from their organization, the whole Glassdoor fills up with negative comments. Now we cannot delete those comments. So what we as an agency are supposed to do is to pick up great initiatives that the company is already running internally, create press releases, do the press releases and then go on Glassdoor and start talking positive about the organization, even when there are ex-employees who are giving negative publicity. So I think uh, we should never delete any comment. Let that comment be there, but squash it. Squash it in my language means that leave it there, but put more positive things over it so that people see more positive things
Oh,
than and few negative things. I mean, when we look at Amazon product, we go to the
ये
reviews,
पब्लिक का
right?
सब जानती है,
We
ये
want
पब्लिक का सब जानती
as
है.
a
You cannot fabricate anything now. You cannot fabricate
yeah.
anything now.
No, so
It's what the what's the
when
views.
we are also buying any product, right? I mean, we don't, when we see everybody that product has got 100% five-star rating, we doubt that, right?
Yes.
So we are very happy when there are some 1 star, 2 star, and then there are some 4 star, 5 star rating. Yeah, yeah, this is a relevant product to buy because it's genuine hai, you know.
अच्छा.
So we think that way, right? So the
What
same
insight
we
you got,
need
huh?
to apply to our corporate communication also. There
Yeah.
can be negative
Yes,
news,
Manjula.
but
Thank you. Kishore, what's
Manjulla,
your
one
views?
more
See,
question.
what I would
There is
like to
one
add
question
here
for you.
is, see,
Sorry.
because
Dinesh, just a minute, Kishore.
Yeah, yeah,
Dinesh, you were saying something?
yeah. Manjulla, there is a question for you that has come to me. That how do we measure the level of crisis? If you are talking about the crisis, you told about that Satyam crisis. That was, I think, that was on news worldwide as well. So how do you measure the level of crisis? Because every time बहुत बड़ा crisis तो होगा नहीं. There may be some smaller.
yeah.
So how do you measure that? And because I have a counter question as well after that.
Yeah. So in my career, Satyam is one large crisis that I handled because it was a big crisis. But actually, as a corporate communication person, we handle a lot of crises. There are a lot of crises which happens within the organization. It's not like even when an employee is being asked to leave the organization, they also sometimes become threat to the company. There are a whole lot of things that happen. We put some policy forward, and then we came, we had to pull the policy back because it was not relevant for the society or whatever, right? So it's not like so we have to understand how large, who are the people who are going to get impacted by this particular crisis that we are in. We need to look at those kind of things. I mean, I don't really like saying this, but we had a bomb blast in Pune, and we did have some corporate crisis out there at that point of time. So we had to deal with it on seeing how a big audience are there who are going to be
Yes.
affected by that
Yes.
particular crisis, and then plan it out accordingly.
Yes.
So,
Yes, Manjula. Sorry.
traditionally, the PR people used to do what they used to do. They didn't allow the news to come in press when print was there. So,
Yeah.
so there were more chances कि वो news जो है वो pass on नहीं होगी. Say if the crisis has an impact on a district, on a
Yeah.
even a town, smaller town, I can say.
Yeah.
So that will
so
not pass if that it is not printed in print media. But as
so
we are moving to digital lines, even if I stop that in press, that may go in digital, that may go to a level
Print.
that may impact reputation internationally as well. So, how the new, say, emerging, or you can say, PR managers are dealing with it right now?
Kishore, you answer this question.
yeah. So
In
what I
context of
would
digital
like to
PR.
add to this crisis thing is, see, in today's digital scenario, no company, organization, or individual can hide the crisis. It is going to come at some point of time. All is important whenever the crisis happens. The most important thing is, you can't, you need to balance the crisis. When I say balance the crisis, is like, you know, the first, whenever the crisis happens, the organization needs to comment wherever possible, and then start creating a strategy how the crisis, negative crisis, can be converted into positive. It is not going to happen like the crisis will not get over sometimes in a day, a week, or like it might take a lot of time, but it's a process. And the whole idea is, you just cannot make negative crisis to positive within a certain frame of time. You need to neutralize the crisis. You need to have like your strategic messages in place. You need to reach out to the right stakeholders, right media, right audience, and then start thereafter, like, minimizing the risk.
True.
Yes, Swati.
Well,
Swati,
thank
back.
you so much for so many insights from PR. It is a great function of an organization which lifts a brand and builds and protects at times. We're going to do a quick rapid fire for each of you. And this is going to be a quick 8 questions. I'm going to start with Manjula.
Okay.
Are you ready,
Manjula.
Manjula?
Uh,
Yeah.
bro, मंजुला को आप ले आइए
Do-
स्टूडियो
do- okay. Manjula, concept or content?
Both.
Giving presents or getting presents?
टिक 5 minutes
Giving.
गया seconds timekeeper. Who is the timekeeper? Dinesh, you are the
Both.
timekeeper.
Is it both?
Seconds.
Giving
Giving.
presents.
Mountains or oceans?
Both.
No, either
Uh,
mountains or oceans.
Oceans.
okay. If you had a superpower, what would be?
If I had a superpower, I would be Super Manjulla Nair.
Get a cape.
Yeah.
Which are the top 3 skills a marketer should have today?
Strategy building. Content is king, so ability to create great content. And third is understanding your target audience to whom you're targeting the content.
What is more exciting, working for a large organization or startups?
Working for startups is more exciting because larger organizations have the processes and methodology in place, but startups and SMEs do not have anything in place. So
You
you
can
get to,
create one.
yeah,
Who's your favorite social influencer?
socially Manjula Nair.
Oh, wonderful. We'll start following you now.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Manjula. We'll have the rapid fire rolled on to Kishore now. Uh, Kishore, concept or content? I'll give you 5 seconds.
Both.
Presence? No, you have to
No,
choose one. You
either
have to choose
either
one.
either this or that, na.
I would go both, because see, once if you have a concept in place, your content has, that's how you develop a content.
Okay. Giving presents, getting presents.
Giving presents.
Okay. Mountains or oceans?
Ocean.
Superpower? Which superpower would you like to have?
I would go into pre-COVID era,
Oh,
take the entire world there.
turn back the time.
Yes.
Turn back the clock. 3 skills every marketer should have.
Strategy,
Mhm.
communication skills, and execution. Uh, these are the three things. Yeah.
True that. What is exciting? Working for a large organization or startups?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yes.
Who is your favorite social influencer?
Honestly, I don't follow many.
Like Manjula is Kishore or Manjula?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Manjula.
Yes.
Good. Great. We roll on to Shreya. Concept or
Yes.
content?
Content that is built very strongly with concept.
Everybody's giving a very. All 3 prefer both.
No, but
Great.
it cannot be either or in this case. It has to be together.
Okay. Yes, I do agree with you. Uh, Presents, giving presents, getting presents.
Giving and getting presents for sure.
So you like both. Uh, so both of you, Manjula and Kishore, love to give. Why don't you get one? I'm there to get.
Ask me, huh?
Ashish, send the gifts this side.
Yes. We're getting it from Manjulla and Kishore. Giving mountains or oceans?
Um, Cliff on top of the ocean, so both.
Wow.
Nice. Um, which superpower would like to have? You would like to have?
Truth, honesty, healing.
Truth,
Honesty
honesty.
and healing, the ability to heal.
Oh, nice. That's really nice.
You want to know
And
some
truth
name
and
the
honesty,
person?
you can create one superpower for yourself. That's
I
an
mean,
easy
Swati, your
superpower.
question was
Huh?
what kind of a superpower? Swati, what was the question about the superpower?
Which, if you have one superpower, what it would be?
Superpower like Spider-Man, Superman, that kind of a thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Any
yes.
Okay.
superpower.
What will be Spider-Man?
Super Commando Drone.
So Shreya, two superpowers you can make. The third one is healing. That I'm sure you can get it.
Yeah.
Um, which is exciting. Working for large organization or startups.
Start with a startup, take it to a large organization. That journey.
Ah, that's nice. That's so you're
Very
one
good.
of the builders. Uh, which is your favorite social influence, Manjula?
I think Amir Khan, I would say Amir Khan because of the fact that everything he does is ethical and is true to his integrity. So I love the way he
Satyam
may
Ray.
not be active on a lot of social media, but Anand Mahindra and Amir Khan.
Wonderful. It's really nice having you. Do we have any questions from the
I'm also
audience?
here. I'm also here. You're not
Oh, I'm
leaving.
sorry.
You,
Yes,
Ashish,
Ashish,
Dinesh,
are
you
we
asked
ready?
the questions.
I'm sorry.
see me and
I always
Dinesh
mistake you as a host.
patiently waiting for your.
Okay,
Ashish, Ashish,
concept or
before
content?
that, Swati, I have a question for Shreya. That is a
Okay,
Yeah.
part of rapid fire only. Digital PR versus social media.
Digital PR versus social
Yeah,
media.
go ahead.
social media. I think
ठीक
we
है,
should
चलो.
add that. That's it.
Okay, so digital PR via social media. Again, not
Okay.
an either or.
How about you, Kishore?
Same because it go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You guys are team. Manjula,
Yeah,
you agree to
yeah, I agree because when we say
Exactly.
digital PR,
It's
then
a part of social media, I guess.
Facebook and LinkedIn and all are actually the channels of PR, right? For digital
Okay,
PR.
great. So we will move
Swati,
to Ashish. Concept or content?
first
You
Dinesh
go,
or Ashish?
Ashish.
Okay.
Concept or content?
Sorry, question? Content.
Concept or content? Content. Giving presents, getting presents.
Content.
Giving
Getting.
presents or getting presents. Mountains or oceans?
Getting.
Mountains or
Oceans.
ocean?
Oceans.
If you had one
My
superpower,
internet is not
ocean.
working.
If you had one
Okay.
superpower, what it would be?
Super Commander Dhruv. I mean, you were
If,
asking about the
nice. Um,
person.
which are the three skills every marketer should have? Which three skills every marketer should have? I think he's missed on two. Okay. We love the smiling face there.
No. I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. Sorry. There was
Okay.
some
Okay. Okay.
issues.
Great.
Yeah. What was the question?
Which is the super?
Swati, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Which are the
Yeah,
three
it is done.
skills the marketers should have? Which is the three skill marketers should have?
ID, ideation, execution.
Nice.
Ideation,
Good.
execution, and then
Which
execution.
is most exciting to work in large company or startups?
Startups, of course, startups. I never get a chance to work with the startups, and I would love to work with the startups. All those who are
Yes. Join.
watching me on this webcast, please consider me to work with the
Okay.
startups.
Well, put in your application, Ashish. We'll join.
Sure.
Free, but
Next question.
startups don't give money. Remember.
No, 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 no. Here you are
There's
making
a
a
lot
big
of pro bono work that needs to be done.
Later you might mind ESOPs. Everything you get is ESOPs.
okay. Next.
Who is your favorite social influencer, Manju?
Oh, so many. But the idea of India or idea of Bharat is the main, most influencing idea which provoked me. So that is the thing.
Great. So India is your as
So
a
you
country.
definitely need to
Yes,
follow
you
me
can.
because all my publications are called by Bharat, Creative Bharat, Clinically Bharat, Legally Bharat. So please
Yes. So
follow
it's
me.
Manjula. Manjula, you've promoted yourself very well. Everybody's going to follow you now. Great. That's called a perfect PR person.
Mm. Next,
Great.
done.
I think that's good. Thank you so much. It has been a great pleasure having
Dinesh,
you all.
yes.
Oh, Dinesh.
Oh, by the way, sorry,
Dinesh,
sorry. He was the. He's
do
the
you
host.
want to take it
He's
up?
the host.
Be a host. Yes.
I'm ready to answer.
Okay. Concept or content?
Concept.
Giving presents, getting presents.
Getting presents.
Okay. Kishore and Manjula, you have to give too many presents now.
Right.
The ratio is four is to two. Mountains and oceans.
Oceans.
Um, which superpower would you like to have?
Uh, I would
Superpower.
like to
Yeah.
be. Huh?
No, no, no. She
Sorry.
was asking
Spider.
superpower. What kind of a power you have?
Superpower.
I want like a Spider-Man.
No, no,
Spider-Man.
no.
Okay. They're much in news. I think you'll really get good PR. Okay. Now, which are the top three skills a marketer should have?
Of course, it is ideations, ideation, and ideation.
Oh, good.
And third,
Um,
sorry, third one is execution.
ex- True. What is exciting to work in large companies or startups?
Uh, I have been working in large companies only, so I would like to work with
Startups.
startup. If given a chance.
इसको भी consider कर लेना आप लोग हाँ.
So please
Yeah.
put in your application
Be ready for
and
pro bono.
consider your low salaries.
It depends on the budget.
Difference in the budget. But yeah, the full mental satisfaction.
Right.
Who's your favorite social influencer? Manjula?
Yes, of course, Manjulla. Manjulla.
Manjula, you made it. You
Why?
already have 5 followers out of this warm TV,
Thank
and you
you.
did a great PR for yourself.
So all of us actually answered ocean, right? Nobody wanted to go for mountains, but I actually opted for both. The reason being that I'm from Jammu, so
Ah,
mountains are closer to me, but my husband is from
wonderful.
Kerala, so ocean is
Oh,
closer to him.
what
So
a
we
wonderful.
wanted mountains
Manjulla,
here.
I
on
think that's the
contrary, I
beauty
am
of
from Himachal.
India. Uh,
I'm from
Yeah.
Himachal, so I am near to the mountains. That's why I want,
you would go to
I
sea,
opt for
exactly. Or mountains.
I
Wonderful.
said cliff on the ocean, so I want both.
Yeah.
both.
You want
Yeah.
both. Yes,
That's
you
good.
also
Yeah.
want both. Great. This is wonderful having you. It is indeed a pleasure and great insights, a lot of new things we learned. I hope to have this conversation again with new topic, with new, experiences. And thank you so much, Manjula, Kishore, and Shreya for joining
Thank
us.
you.
And
It's
Ashish,
a
thank
pleasure.
you for creating this platform for interaction, meaningful interaction. And thank you, Dinesh, for hosting us. It is indeed a pleasure. Have a
And
great
thank you,
day.
Swati.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, Swati.
Swati,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, Ashish.
And
Thank you, Dinesh.
I request everyone to follow all the marketing on social media. Okay,
Sure.
to get updated with all the upcoming webcast on Warm TV. So with this note, thank you. We'll
Yes,
meet
we'll do that.
next weekend, the same time,
Great.
We have second
with another
session
guest,
on.
or maybe the same guest.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.